this is P4L. In today's P4L review, we'll be taking another early look at a pre-production sample from Fans Toys. This is their FT-07 Stomp, their version of a Masterpiece Sludge, and really the last version of a Masterpiece Dinobot that we need to complete the entire set of 5. Of course, you know, we're fully expecting their version of Grimlock as well. But let's go ahead and get started. Just a disclaimer, since this is a pre-production sample, things may change between what we're seeing here today in its awesome glory. I mean, this looks super ready for prime time as it stands, but things may change, so just take anything that I say with a bit of grain of salt, and hopefully any negatives I have, Fans Toys may go ahead and repair that or fix that or improve upon that before the final release. Alright? So I didn't get any packaging or instructions either, so if I get something wrong, you know, you're gonna have to forgive me for that, because most review samples we all kind of get and we're kind of left to our own devices. So including Stomp and his sword and his blaster, we got a few extra things that we'll show off accessory-wise really quickly. We have these googly eyes that will be featured in his alt mode, and this is a recreation of the scene from the movie where he's squashed by Devastator. He also has an alternate face, which honestly there's not much difference between this face and the other one. I honestly can barely tell, and I might just be imagining the differences. It does come with an extra red eyepiece though, so you can swap that out with the one that's currently installed, the blue ones, or you can keep that here. It doesn't really matter. Speaking of eye swapping pieces, this red chromey piece is also an eye swapping piece. These little diamond shapes here are the eyes. This is for alt mode, and again, we'll take a look at that a little later. And the last two pieces we have are these, and these are actually for their Sever, their version of Snarl, which it's kind of the bottom filler. So if you remember my review of Sever, there was a big gap, which honestly was kind of unacceptable for them to leave that. So they're including this with their Sludge, and I'm going to show this off in a separate video because it will take a little while to show that off. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into robot mode review. This guy is just monstrous. He's huge. I mean, I know all the Dinobots are big in the Fans Toys line, but this guy is just massive, and he is super heavy. It feels really great. The quality that you've come to expect from Fans Toys, but also just given the size and the quality in this figure, he's just really heavy. Now let's go ahead and take a look at his weapons, since we're going to take these off later anyway. So the first weapon he has is the blade, and it does have a little button here, and you're not going to be able to see it that well, but it does have an LED, red LED that lights up this blade. It's not as well lit as some of the previous ones, if I recall. It doesn't really extend out as much as I remember. It does have a nice red chrome on the handle, and it is translucent red. If you want to install batteries, you're going to need the LR626. It's a, I think, AG4 equivalent, and a lot of other equivalents like 377 and stuff like that. You're just going to need to take out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screws, Phillips heads, open that up, and then install 2 of those batteries in here. Mine are oriented so that the flat side is towards the blade, but that may be different. I found that electronics in third-party figures are pretty inconsistent in how they're manufactured. So that's how it works, and you can just replace those screws there. I didn't do that just so I can show that off to you guys really quickly there. As for his blaster, this is a very cartoon accurate blaster, not as much with the toy version. And it looks nice. It's really nice. It has nice gold chrome and everything like that. It does look kind of out of place when you compare it to some of the other weapons that we've gotten from Fans Toys, in terms of just overall look. If you want to install the batteries here, it's the same type of battery, the LR626. You just install them in here. There's a little cover that flips open, and then for this we had the batteries so that the flat side was towards the left when holding it in this orientation. And when you press the button here, you get a nice blinking LED, which is I think what they've been doing with most of their weapons. My button sticks. Well, I shouldn't say my button, but this button sticks on this review sample, but not a big deal. And I apologize for all the clearing my throat. I'm a bit under the weather, but I really wanted to get this guy done. So as far as just the robot mode, he just looks really, really impressive. He does have super big legs, as you can see here. And he has the dynamo legs still on the exterior, but they're actually sunken in a bit, and we're going to show that off in detail later. Really nice translucent pieces and paint underneath those translucent pieces on the legs. Nice gold chrome underneath this translucent pieces here and here. Die cast in the foot, on these plates here, on the toes. Probably someplace else that I'm not recalling right now, but a nice amount of die cast being used. Nice chrome on the main body or wings here. Got some painted pieces all along the back. Some gray highlights there. And on the front, he has some gray paint here, some dark blue paint, some whitish paint, red details, etc., etc. And underneath his clear chest, he has some additional painted details. Even inside the wings, which honestly is probably pretty unnecessary, he has a lot of paint in here as well. So as far as paint applications, he probably has the most out of any of the Fans Toys dinos that we've gotten thus far. Just all around, just small details are really nicely highlighted. As far as my opinion of the face sculpt, I think it looks really good. I know people say Fans Toys are terrible at face sculpts, but I really have no real complaints. Some people probably wanted this to be a little bit blockier as far as the head sculpt goes, but I think this looks really nice. Has a nice white painted crest, really nice chrome eyes you can see back there, and again you can go ahead and swap that out. Showing you the side-by-side comparison, I really can't tell much of a difference. Maybe some difference in lips and the chin protrusion, the amount it protrudes, and maybe slightly different eyes, but it's so minuscule. I just don't understand why they did it, even if it is different, and it might just be me perceiving some difference that's not actually there. Going into articulation, he does have a lot, but since he's such a bulky figure, not all of it can really be utilized, especially in the lower legs. So he does have a swivel and a swivel up and down. Doesn't get a lot of down because of his chin, but pretty typical of Transformers. His wings are on a hinge here, and then a ratcheted hinge that goes up. You only really get one ratchet up. Oh, two going up. But you can fold it in and out quite a bit. His shoulders are on a couple different joints. There's one that go up like this, and it's really for transformation. That's friction. And even in here, you can see molded detail. You only see that section when you're transforming it or when you're doing some posing. But it's nice that they even included some molded detail there. He has a ratcheted shoulder that goes out this far, not very far, but again, using it in conjunction with that joint, it goes pretty far. Ratcheted arms going all the way around. A bicep swivel. An elbow bend that goes about 90 degrees, probably exactly 90 degrees. He has a wrist swivel, and his hands are standard Fans Toys hands, which mean they have a single ball jointed thumb. The hinge is upward and down. All his fingers are on a pin joint at the base, connecting to the hand, and then each of them are individual and have a second pin joint in mid finger that allows you to get a little bit more bend. Very nice and tight. I kind of wish that they would go for ball joints. I know that there are pluses and minuses of going for ball joints in the fingers. I just really like ball jointed fingers personally. Let's see where else. Ratcheted waist. And you can go 360 there. His hips are friction joints. They don't go 90 degrees out, probably about 75-ish or so. They are ratcheted going forward, and they do a good job holding that. The knees are also ratcheted, but a little bit weaker than probably is necessary for the amount of heft to the lower leg, especially the die-cast toe, and all the stuff that's going in there. He does also have a thigh swivel. It's rectangular, so you do get some weird angles sometimes. The feet, he has a little bit of toe action, so he can tilt in just a tiny bit, and then he can pull down on just the front part of the toe just a tiny bit. No real heel. I mean, you can do this, but that's actually just part of the transformation. And because of just the size of the leg, you can't really get him in any dynamic poses because you can't get that front toe going forward really. So even that little bit of toe articulation doesn't really help him in terms of posability there. So that is a downside of the figure. That's not going to be something that I'm really going to be able to change. But yeah, that's the figure itself. In robot mode and its articulation, I don't think I missed anything articulation wise. Oh, he does also have this weird inward knee bend, but that's not really for articulation. Is really for transformation purposes, like all the most of the other Dinobots that we've seen so far. All right. So my opinion of robot mode is fantastic. I think it's really, really nice. Some people have pointed out that you could flip the arm around and use it this way if you want. I don't know why you would do that, because that's not really accurate to the show. He always had his arm like this, and you get further elbow bend on the correct transformation. So yeah, if you want to do that, you have the option, but it's not really show accurate. Alright, so let's go ahead and do some quick comparisons that are going to make me super giddy. So the fact that we actually have 5 dinos makes me very, very happy. So the first thing we'll do is bring out Grimlock, and you'll see he's super tiny. This is the Toys R Us version that I always prefer the most, and he looks tiny, as he should, since he's not really in scale. But if you have the boots that came with Scoria, you can go ahead and fit those on, and at least he gets a little bit more height, even if he's still bulky, less bulky in terms of just overall size. So let's go ahead and put them off to the side here. The most recent dino besides Stomp was their Sever, and he is definitely taller. Just because the angle I'm at, it probably doesn't show that well, but he is a good, I don't know, a centimeter or so taller than Sever. And Sever was taller than Scoria, who we see here. And then the little tiny guy of the group is their Soar, their Swoop. And just having all 5 dinos, even with the smaller Grimlock, together, they all look really nice. And having this group of fan favorites all together at once is just so nice to have. The only thing I need to do is put on a little logo here, but he's not mine, so I'm not going to be able to do that. But everybody else looks really, really great. I think in terms of overall size, this should give you an idea of what you're looking for. I mean, if you're getting this guy, you probably have the other dinos and you know how they scale. So I'm not going to bother comparing with other figures of the line. So what we're going to do as far as next steps is I want to show off the head switching, or the face switching. So that's pretty easy. We're just going to scroll up here again. The first thing you need to do is just take off kind of his skull piece here. Forehead, skull piece. I don't know what is the skull piece. And then, which is nice, you know, no screws or anything like that. You just pull off the little face, just like we saw before. You have the two faces there. There is a separate piece, so you can remove this red piece if you'd like, and install it on either face. Same thing with the blue piece. Don't really understand the point of that, but let's go ahead and install this back on with the red eyes, and then go ahead and peg this forehead piece back on. And now you have red-eyed Stomp. For that angry Dinobot day you have. I think that's really it. Let's go ahead and get into transformation. Once we get into alt mode, I'll go ahead and show off the other accessories, the eyes, the two sets of eyes, and then we'll go ahead and transform back. Alright? So the first thing we'll do for transformation is fold in the hands. So just make the fists on each hand, and then curl down the thumb. And the arms actually work, or the fists hide away in a new way. So you come around to the back, you split the two dino claws or toes or whatever you want to call them, flip up that panel, and then rotate that in. Then you'll just peg them back together, close that up. Same thing for the other side. Just to be slick, I'm going to do this without even looking. Oh, I'm stupid. I see, I tried to be fancy. I forgot to open the panel. Flip that in, close up the animal, and then close up the toes. Next thing we'll do is come to the back. So the back actually hides really well. I should have showed this off before, but it actually hides into the back of the main body. If you want a more G1-ish look, you can have the body with the head hanging down near his butt if you want, but for the actual official transformation, you go ahead and tuck it in, which is a nice clean backpack. You're just going to want to get that out of there, and that cavity now can be filled in with the head. So you're going to open up the chest, pull the head forward, and then this whole panel will fold in on itself so that the head is looking down, and then you can close up that panel again. This is where we get the shoulders up and out of the way. We'll go ahead and fold this down. I actually like, at this point, rotating the waist here. I think it makes it a little bit easier later, but it's up to you. Go ahead and close this up. Bring these down. And before you close this up, you kind of have to do that Masterpiece Grimlock transformation where you bring the dino head down, and this little lip here will latch on behind the two side pieces, and that will hold that into place. Coming around to the back, this set of panels are on a double hinge. You just straighten those out, and then you want to fold this side in first and this side in second. To get the legs down, the hips are really secure. If you remember Scoria's hips, I'm sorry about the lighting, Scoria's hips kept flopping down. It's because they didn't lock into place. They have a little button and I guess tabbing mechanism that allows the hips to stay in place for robot mode, but to collapse easily in dino mode. So what you do is you press on this button, and then you raise the hip up, and then it will come down. So you can't just, it doesn't want to actually come, the button doesn't go all the way in just by pressing it, just because the leg comes down just a little bit. So I rotate it a bit up, and then that will allow you to depress the button all the way, and the hips will kind of sag down like this. From here, we're gonna extend the thighs, if I can get it done from arm's length. There we go. We're gonna swivel them 180 degrees. Notice my use of the word swivel instead of rotate. The legs all kind of came apart here, but what you're gonna need to do is split the legs by pulling out on the back, like so. And then this part kind of all expands, like this. It's really long. And once you have that open, this is the mechanism that they use to actually collapse the leg in, which is really cool. It's just on the double hinge, and you'll see down here, you just pull back and to the outside, and there's a little ridge here that it's going to sit on the other side of, and that kind of secures it in place. Once you do that, you can close up the leg again, and this back side here has a long tab that will slot in. Once you have that done, you're going to grimlock it up with the knees, going all the way in like so, and then the tail will fold down across the lower body, so there's no holes there. Same thing on the other side. We're just gonna open this up, extend the kind of bottom and tail, get that double hinged leg section out, close it back up, making sure to get that leg tabbed into place. I'm gonna go ahead and make use of that joint to come back all the way around, and then you're gonna be able to tab the two halves together all the way down. There's a series of pegs and holes all the way down, as well as on this section here. Let's make sure to get that all lined up. The tail has two tabs that go into his rear, and just to secure that even further, where the kneecaps were, ow, that hurt, you flip this up, you have a little tab sections that extend out here, and will slot into the chrome part of the tail, the top part of the tail. I actually thought these tabbed in really well, and these weren't necessary, but it's nice that they thought of that. They felt the need to add that, so it's just a bonus. If you don't want to use it, you don't have to, but it's there. The last thing you do to finish transformation is come to the knee here, the lower part of this leg, and flip this open, which will reveal the lower part of the leg. And this is really well designed and really well thought out to be able to hide that like so. You need to get the knee bent all the way back to allow this to slot in, and once you bring it forward even just a little bit, it secures that into place so that leg won't open up by itself. And then we'll flip open the back toe. You have to do it in that order, and then the front two claws or toes. And then you just come around to the back on the other side and do the same thing. Again, splitting so that it goes forward and opens up. Pulling down the feet so they rotate all the way back, slot that in, get the claws out. I do wish there were some kind of tabs or something like that, because they are kind of difficult to reach in. And you do get a bit of a hollow foot, kind of like Scoria had, which isn't a big deal, but you know it's there and it's kind of annoying. And with that, by and large, you're in Dino mode or alt mode. So the one thing I wanted to mention is that there's actually one more step to the transformation, I believe, and that's to get this all the way around, like so, and then swivel at the head. This is just a screw filler that popped out really quickly. The molded details make it seem like this is the way you're supposed to have the neck oriented, and so you rotate it around for transformation. I actually don't think this is a good look for him in alt mode. It does have different curvature to it, and this makes it look a little bit more unnatural. So even though the molded detail seems to indicate this is the correct way, I actually think you should go ahead and keep it the same way that you had it before when transforming back to when you're transforming from robot mode, and these molded lines won't line up. However, you'll have a much smoother transition in the neck and also greater range of motion going down. And I think that is more important than having range of motion going back. But that's up to you, but it's just something I wanted to highlight very quickly. Alright, so here we are going into alt mode review, and this guy just looks fantastic. He is huge. He is as big as a small dog or cat, and I would much prefer to have him than a dog or cat, probably because he doesn't poop or pee as much all over the house. But he is awesome. He just looks fantastic. His legs look well proportioned. He doesn't look like any type of fruit or vegetable that I can think of. Maybe a yam, but nothing that screams out like a potato or avocado. As far as just the overall look in alt mode, it just looks great. The same really nice use of paint details everywhere. Overall, he just looks phenomenal. These are a bit of an eyesore back here, but not too terrible. Like I said, he does have the small hollow feet, but not as bad as Scoria. As far as articulation goes, he has a mouth that opens, and he even has a little double blaster flamethrower thing in there. If you look deep in there. And his mouth is actually ratcheted, which is awesome. Ratcheted at the neck or head, going up and down. Head swivel, which you'll possibly need for transformation. A swivel here. A swivel here. And again, depending on how you have the neck oriented, you'll get more or less going down. The look does kind of break up a little bit going this way, but I just don't really know how you would avoid that. There may be a better way, but I think they do a very good job there. And that rotating ratcheted base of the neck. His front legs have the same articulation as his arms in robot mode, so there's ratchets here. They do go out like this as well on the ratchet. The bicep swivel, the elbow joints. And then the toes don't really have any articulation at all, unfortunately, but really not a big deal. No real ankle tilt or going left and right, but he does have this tilt going forward, which I guess would be toe articulation, or I guess that would be ankle articulation as well. His rear legs are on very big ball joints, or actually they're ball pegs that go into a socket in the back. Good range of motion there. We saw the nice elbows, or knees, or toes, heads, shoulder, knees, and toes. Ankle tilt here, or forward back, not really tilt in or outward. He does have the toes here that go down, but that's really for transformation. He does have the waist swivel still present here, so you can get him to do some weirdly weird, unnatural poses, but it's an option. His tail wags back and forth like so, and he doesn't have really up and down unless you start breaking the pegs there. You do have a bit of a gap, but again, not really sure how you could avoid that. I think that's really it for alt mode articulation. Hopefully I didn't miss anything there, but yeah, he looks phenomenal. Options are with his head, so you get these two swaps, so you can go ahead and just pull up on the top of his skull, and you can pull that out, and you can replace it with these. Put the head back on, and you get nice mean red eyes. Or if you want to pose him with Devastator or just have a Three Stooges kind of look, you get rid of all those pieces, those eye pieces, and you plug in this piece, and you have the goofy eyes, and he's like, ah, when he gets crushed by Devastator or whatever else you have around the house. The eyes are just really funny because they are, they even do recreate the fact that they're asymmetrical, they're not the same size, the pupils are not the same size. The paint on here isn't fantastic, but it's not awful. I hope the final production is a little bit cleaner, but it is a really hilarious add-on option that I don't think most people will actually use on their regular display, but who knows? With Combined Wars Devastator and all these other Devastators coming out soon, I could definitely see that being one of the display shelves. But yeah, let's go ahead and get rid of that and put on the red eyes since we did that before. And I had to do a cut because I needed to start transforming all of these guys. And I don't even think I'm going to be able to fit everyone in here as much as I would like to. This makes me even more giddy than the previous group shot I had in robot mode, because I display my dinos in alt mode. That's just how I do. Maybe that's not how you do, but I always thought of the Dinobots alt modes or robot or dino modes being their real base modes. And yeah, this is going to be very tough even with my new setup to get all these guys in. But I mean, they're kind of squeezed in here. I can pan in and out. But they just look phenomenal as a group. This is what we've been waiting for. I don't know any Transformer fan who's not a Dinobot fan. If you're out there, I hate you, but I imagine that most of you guys right now are just drooling and can't wait to get this guy in your collection. And they all scale really well together. There are some slight variations in colors that are being used, especially with Scoria. His gold isn't as yellow, and I think Severs is the most yellow, or maybe Swoops is, but they're all pretty close. And the gold on MP Grimlock closely matches Scoria, so there's a lot of differences going on. But you know, that kind of all fades into the background when you guys have this guy displayed with the other four on your shelf, and that's just gonna make you forget about all the minor nitpicks that you had with any of these figures, and really just be glad that we have third party, especially those of the quality of Fans Toys. I don't think I have anything else to report in alt mode. Oops, there goes my stand. But a very solid alt mode. The figure itself, I think, is just really great. The strongest so far. And I don't want to get into that just yet, since I'm going to save that for final thoughts. But yeah, I think aside from some minor things like this bottom piece being a little weird, I mean, it's not terrible, but it just has weird lines here. And then the ratchet sitting here, which I think is also odd. I actually don't really know what that ratchet is really necessary for. It's only to put the head into the back, so I don't know if they needed a ratchet, especially when exposed like that. But I'm really nitpicking here because this figure is really, really nice. I mean, this a little bit, but otherwise I don't have a lot of complaints here. And given that this is going to be the primary mode for me, I think they do a phenomenal job here, making some sacrifices for robot mode. I mean, this could be a little bit smoother here, but you're not going to see a lot of that since the front arm. Alright. So as usual, there is no storage for the weapons here. There's no pegs that let them peg into the side or anything like that. So that's unfortunate, but I really don't care about that. Some people do though, so that's why I just wanted to point that out. And with that, we'll just go back into robot mode transformation, and then we'll finish off with final thoughts. All right. And again, I'm going to do the filler pieces for Sever in another video. So we'll go ahead and close the mouth up. The first thing I'd like to do is just kind of deal with the rear feet. You're going to fold in, I believe, yeah, the single rear toe first, and then those two, that they do have a specific order. I'm going to go ahead and get the knee bent all the way back on both, and just open up the front. Again, do that on both sides. And then when you straighten out the foot, the lower foot, before you swing that up, and then just squeeze that in, close it up. Repeat on this side. Kind of channeled Emgo there for a second. I don't know where I got that accent. Get that kind of like so. And then we're going to go ahead and split the back. Making sure to do that on the tail all the way down as well. Go ahead and, if you forgot like I did, go ahead and flip up those little knee pads, flip in those little tabs. Alright, so then we're just going to kind of bring the legs all the way down, getting those tails out of the way. And then we're going to go transforming the tails. So you're going to come down like this, fold this up, come on. Oh, this way, sorry, this way. That's why I didn't want to come on. Once you get that, open up the rear of the leg. Go ahead and use that double hinge to come in like that. And then you can close up the leg. Possibly. If you dream, if you believe. And clearly, I don't believe. There we go. There we go. Then we're gonna collapse the thigh. See if I don't pinch myself somehow. Come on. And this is why I hate collapsing leg mechanisms. They're awful. And then swing around at the thigh again. Same thing on the other side. We're just gonna go ahead and open that up. Fold up the tail. Like so. Man, this guy's so massive. It's so hard to get everything on screen. And I've got to imagine that I've come off screen at least once or twice. And I apologize for that. If I haven't, I'm awesome. And also modest, apparently. There we go. Get that around. Can we get this in? Can we do it? Come on. There we go. Of course, it came at the sacrifice of untransforming the leg, which is unacceptable. Okay. Alright. Whew. Coming around to the back, we can actually, you might be able to get the hips up enough to activate these buttons that will pop back out. I rotate them around just to get them activated at this stage, but you can hold off on doing that until later as well. You're gonna split this part just enough to get you clearance to get this neck up and to the back. Then you can get the shoulders up, give you clearance there. Now you can go ahead and rotate at the waist. Come on, get in there. You can bring the arms down, open up the chest, pull forward on the head, get it folded up like that. This tab will go in there to secure the head. On the back, you're going to open up these panels and fold them down on those double hinges. And at this point, as I stated before, you can get it kind of a more of a G1 look by keeping the head out, or you can fold it in. Again, depending on how you have this rotated, for alt mode, you might have to rotate it all the way around and then rotate this around. And I think a little screw cover came out. Yeah. One at the neck just popped out. Oh, popped out again. I'll have to put that back on later. I can't really see the orientation right now. But go ahead and collapse that in if you'd like. Angle the wings however you'd like. We're going to go ahead and pop open the toes. Oh, this is actually kind of difficult to get out. Again, there's no tab here, which is really unfortunate. It makes it very difficult to get the fist out. Close that up, rotate that around. Same thing over here. Ow, that hurt my fingernail. And with that, we have Sludge, or sorry, Stomp, back in robot mode. And again, he just looks phenomenal. I'm really enjoying this guy. I really don't want to give him back to Toy Dojo, who is the sponsor of this video and who is always the one that is the one getting me these pre-production samples for you guys to review. So yeah, final thoughts. I love this guy. This is probably my favorite of the bunch. I think, you know, we've always held Fans Toys in really high regard. They've been well deserving of it, and the fact that they haven't gotten lazy, that they've improved, I think, with most of their Dinobots with every single figure and subsequent release is just great. I don't see any glaring issues like, you know, the hips on Scoria or the shoulders on Scoria or anything like that. Everything looks pretty clean in both modes and really accurate in both modes as well, so that's really fantastic. They didn't skimp on any of the paint or anything like that. The chrome looks fantastic. Really, there's not a lot to complain about other than the fact that, you know, you're going to get a workout, and the transformation is probably the most fun of the group thus far. In any case, this video is getting way longer than I was hoping it would be, but that's nothing new for me. If you guys have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them in the comment section below. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up and share with your friends on Facebook or Twitter or wherever. If you want to keep up to date with my news and reviews, you can follow me on Facebook at Pig4Life Reviews, or go ahead and click on the P4L Reviews logo, which is down here maybe now, or somewhere, I don't know. Wherever it is at this point in YouTube history, go ahead and click that, and you can keep up to date with all my news and reviews. If you want to add this guy to your collection, he will be coming out in early 2016, so you can go ahead and click on the Toy Dojo link in the description below, and they'll go ahead and get that added to your order. Alright? The last thing, I want to thank everyone for sticking around for 2015, and hopefully we'll do the same for 2016. This is the first review for 2016, but it's definitely not going to be the last. And I'm really enjoying it. We're getting very close to 2,000 subscribers, which is phenomenal for me. And I'm really looking forward to doing more and more reviews. And I have a whole lot to do in the next couple days to week. So keep your eye out, alright? Thanks a lot, everyone, and have a good one. Happy New Year.